Welcome to this week's edition of Red and Black Sport. Let's just start with a bit of a plus, if you don't mind. If you happened to watch Red and Black Sport last week, quite an extensive and abrasive type interview we did with Peter Fulton over the issue of Canterbury Country being denied playing in the one-day competition, both at senior and under 20 level by Metro. We did invite Metro to come on. Nobody would appear. We asked the CEO of Canterbury Cricket to appear. Nobody would appear. So we asked that there was a board meeting coming up on Thursday last week. Could it be overturned? No, they would support the Metro decision. Well, great news. On Thursday night, after a heated debate, I believe, and quite a long protracted meeting, it was agreed that they would stall everything till at least the 2016 season. So Country are back in. So yeah, we'll take a wee bit of credit for that, I think, and to Peter Fulton for putting it so clearly. No one's got more country blood in his veins, of course, than Peter Fulton, and he put his case very strongly. So I applaud the decision. It makes sense. I said, you know, at the time of the interview, the demographics even of Christchurch has changed so dramatically now that, you know, the focus of town probably is Waimak and Selwyn. So, yeah, common sense decision made, well done. Commonwealth Games, as the curtains come down on those, seem to be pretty successfully run, seem to be an enjoyable event. Some areas, of course, there's some real shortfalls, aren't there? And progressing towards Rio, I think things like the triathletes would have to look at themselves. Definitely the sevens will have to actually change their format a little bit, I'm sure of that. And then the demolition derby of the Silver Ferns. Where was Irene van Dijk? I mean, she didn't retire, she was dropped. And what let them down in the end? Getting the ball through the hoop. That's basically how you win a game. Speaking about balls and what happens, yeah, we all go to Sydney Stadium, don't we, at 10 o'clock on Saturday night. High hopes with a very good side named, the best side they could possibly name. And in the end, it just came down to some dumb rugby. And talking to some of the people on Sunday that know a bit about the game, they just said in the old days a Canterbury team would have stuck it up their jumper for 3 minutes and not given the opposition any chance at all. It was a very good kick. So Andrew Mertens did a good job coaching the Waratahs kickers. Just a wry smile there. But very disappointing. You feel for Todd, you feel for the team, and forget the Richie thing. I mean, it just doesn't work. I take you right back to the start of the Super 15 this year. I went to the Chiefs game, the opening game, and all we'd heard from the drums beating about training and how it had gone, they couldn't wait. They were that fizzed up to play the Chiefs in the opening game. Well, they walked down the tunnel, they didn't run out, they never fired a shot, and suddenly they'd lost the game. You give 14 points in a final in 12 minutes, you know, you're uphill from there. But they showed a fair bit of ticker to come back and actually snatch the lead, and then dumb rugby, wasn't it? Yesterday, of course, we had the final of the Hawkins Trophy, and full marks again to Old Boys. They played pretty jolly well. They took it out 14-5 over Sydenham. They had some firepower in the backs, which they didn't use a lot, which was quite surprising. But they've now carved out a pretty useful record. 7 finals over 11 years. So, yep, they played very well. And remember, it was third playing fourth. So the top 2 teams had got bowled by those guys the week before. So plenty of interest there. Press Cup seems to be now sorting itself out pretty much. St Bede's play St Andrews on Saturday. They need to win that one. And on the performance of St Andrews against Christ College on Saturday, they should do that at a canter with just about half a dozen players on the field. It was a terrible display by St Andrews, but full marks to Christ College. They played to a pattern and they got away, and a much needed win for Christ College. This is the side that's had 3 draws in Press Cup this year. Can you believe it, Christ College? 3 draws. We've had many, many years we haven't had a draw, and they've struck 3 of them. So anyway, that sort of wraps the weekend. But there was another big event which was held on Saturday, and it was the start of the Grand National Carnival Week, which is huge at Riccarton Park. And for me, it's the truest form of racing, I believe. And to discuss that at some length is the CEO. He's with me, Tim Mills, and someone who's ridden those fences, and I think he's got to have rocks in his head to do it. Tommy Haslett joins me as well. Tim, successful first day.
Yeah, very enjoyable first day, Pete. We were down a little bit on horse numbers, just probably a little bit to do with the wet winter that Cantabrians know we've had going right back to April. The weather gods came they smiled very kindly on us in the last 2 or 3 days, and on the day particularly.
So you had a lot of drying in the track?
We had quite a lot of drying.
Good.
Yeah, whilst it was still a heavy 10, if there was a scale that went to 20, we were probably heavy 20 the week before. But that just came right. It was a lovely day. Good
Tell me,
racing.
I couldn't help but think about you when I was doing the rugby, actually. Horses and wind is not a great combination, and you had one hell of a nor'wester going through you.
Yeah, probably the good factor is that either blows behind the horses coming down the straight and down the 1200 metre chute or into it down the back. I think it's when, and there have been race meetings in Australia called off because of wind, when it's a norm, and Tommy will be probably better qualified to speak than me, but I think it's when you get the massive gusts and unpredictability, but the sort of steady nor'west as it tends to be, probably is easier to cater for than if it's a gusty.
Well, let's bring Tommy in. Tommy, a former jumps jockey, as I just said, you've got rocks in your head to do it, but great to have you with us. Tell me, people go a bit troppo in nor'westers. Do horses get a bit troppo?
Look, I think, Pete, it's more as Tim just said, it's the gusts of wind.
Right.
The older horses that are out there on race day, they're got that little bit more nous about them and a bit more experience, but, you know...
A flighty maiden?
Well, horses are flight animals, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, they're bred to run away from danger, but, you know, it's more the gusts if you're just walking along or trotting along, especially in track work, and a gust comes up their rear end, then they can get a bit upset about it.
I suppose, Tim, the other thing you had to be aware of was any flying debris or anything like that. I mean, I noticed there was quite a few tents up originally, and they seemed to come down, or shade tents or whatever.
Well, I really think, Pete, at the end of the day, other parts of Canterbury suffered a lot more than us. It looked like it was going to hit, and we actually got phone calls through to say that silos and things had blown over in parts of Canterbury, and we were sort of sitting there in the back of my mind was, gee, I wonder what's going to happen if this does come up. But it actually didn't come up as strongly as we have had in the past.
Well, I spoke to a parent of a Christ College boy who'd come to watch the game. They hadn't had power at Courtenay since up past 11. I'm thinking, crikey, you know, all we need to do is lose power, you lose power.
Yeah, no, we missed all of that, so I think we got away pretty good.
OK, so overall, the standard of racing on Saturday?
I thought the racing was really good. You know, there were some very good performances. Kevin Myers brought his class galloper Scapolo down, and under Sam Wynne, who's one of the most promising young apprentices in the country, a Canterbury Riccarton Park-based apprentice. She guided Scapolo to a very convincing win, and I see it's now favourite for the first of the big Group 1s at the end of the month. The jumps racing, I thought, Tommy, was you know, really exciting. It was just that lifts the level of intensity and passion in people when they see those good jumps races.
It's a wonderful spectacle. If you've not been, for goodness sake, go. It's on again on Wednesday, it's on again on Saturday. Saturday's the big day, but go. It's a marvellous spectacle to watch. I just love it. Tommy, you had some success on Saturday, so congratulations. Tell us about what you're doing for a job.
Look, now working for Tiako Racing, based in Matamata. Myself and my partner Pam are both there. Pam's the assistant trainer and I'm the foreman. So, no, we brought a horse called Brea down and ran him in the maiden chase, and it's a race that we'd targeted for probably about the last 6 weeks since we decided to go chasing with the horse, and he won well.
Yeah, and the time was good.
Time was good. He only went 0.9 of a second outside Filibuster's record, which was set in 2002, I believe. So
an indication of the track.
Yeah, the track, I think, was probably...
Wind assisted though, guys. Come on, now, be fair. Right, we'll be back with a bit more wind when we come back after the break. That's right. Tommy's with me, Tommy Haslett, and of course a famous name around Riccarton Park as well. And I know Timmy Mills will tell me about that in a minute, because he has a fair bit of history about the Haslett name. Tell me, were you dropped on your head as a youngster, or what? When did you make up your mind to be a jumps jockey?
No, I wasn't dropped on my head, but they tell me one of my sisters hit me on the head with a tennis racket when I was a bit younger.
I knew there was something,
That could have been the way it went. But no, look, we were brought up around horses, and we were brought up through pony club, show jumping, hunting, and originally started off as an apprentice on the flat, but it wasn't long before the weight got the better of me. So
is that what happens? You tend to be a heavier jockey that does the jumps?
You get there's a 10 kilo difference in the minimum weights for riding jumpers than there is for riding on the flat. So yeah, you get that bit of weight allowance.
Right. So you took up the jumps. You remember your first run around Riccarton?
Yeah, I do actually. The first time I went around Riccarton.
Did you get round?
Yeah, I did. I rode a very nice horse for John and Karen Parsons called Silver Bayou.
Right.
I think it might have been in the Homeby Steeplechase. An old Silver Bayou, he'd carted a few kids around Riccarton for the first time.
And you got through it?
Yeah, no problem.
Success then came though, didn't it, at Riccarton?
Yeah, I didn't have much success at Riccarton as a younger fighter before I moved to Australia, but since I've been back, I've had a little bit of luck there, yep.
Yeah, and to have a training success or a part in a training success on Saturday sets your week up pretty good. What will happen to Brea? What are you going to do with it?
He'll run again Wednesday, providing that he's pulled up well. He seems to, at this stage, to have eaten everything and be sound in his actions. So, look, we'll just monitor him again tomorrow and make it a final decision before 7:30 on Wednesday.
Lovely segue to get to you, Tim. Let's talk Wednesday, because start time for that, by the way.
We start about 11:30 on Wednesday. It's a very good day for us. The hospitality New Zealand, the Canterbury branch, supports the day in a massive way. I think a good friend of yours, Marty Fuller, is amongst...
He's in Honolulu. Thank God for that. So Pete Morrison will have to go on his own.
I was going to say, and Pete Morrison, they've been the
newly elected
stalwarts.
life member of the Hospitality Association, yeah.
They're stalwarts of this day, and we normally have about 500 members of the hospitality, and they take over the big Grand National Stand, that magnificent, great concrete structure at Riccarton, which has got probably the best viewing of any racecourse in New Zealand. They have a terrific day up there. We get a good crowd, being the midweek meeting. As you mentioned, it's a 3-day carnival, and one of the few left in New Zealand that run like that, which I think is pretty special.
Yeah, you've always said that, haven't you? You've been a real fan for it. So, features Wednesday.
Features without doubt is the Grand National Hurdles, sponsored by the Hospitality Association.
Is that about 4 o'clock or something, Tim?
That is at 3:38.
3:38, yep.
And that's drawn a small but select field.
Right.
The jumping rank, the jumping stakes and everything were rationalised this year and increased, which has seen a large number of horses, I believe, develop. The higher ranked race just a little bit light, but I think that will improve as the next couple of years go by. And another race with a bit of interest is the Duke of Gloucester Cup. Now, this is a race for the amateur riders. The Duke of Gloucester donated the cup in 1935 for annual competition for amateur riders, and it goes around a different race course and a different club.
So we don't get a turn every time?
No, I think it was 1980, and I think one of your relatives might have been involved then. Might have been your dad was involved with the Christchurch Hunt at the time.
Yeah, he was indeed. And my father actually won the race in 1956 on a horse called Tiz Red.
There you go, yeah. While we're on that, just tell us a little bit of background about the fame of the Hazlitt name. Just huge movers here, weren't they?
I think one of the earliest race commentaries I remember from Riccarton was when I was a lot younger, sitting up in Wellington and hearing Loch Linney win the Grand National Steeplechase. And Rion Murtha's, the great Rion Murtha's famous call, that's W.E. Hazlitt's sixth success in the race. So, that was when the name first sort of came to my mind. Of course, there's a great rugby connection. I think Tommy's grandfather and uncle were both All Blacks. W.E. Hazlitt was an All Black.
All Southland?
Yeah, definitely.
W.E. was based down there, was he?
Yeah. Well, that was Big Bill, and Jack Hazlitt was my father's brother, my uncle. He was an All Black as well.
Yeah. Threw a punch in front of the Queen at Twickenham. Wasn't clever, but never mind. He got away with it. He broke the jaw of the bloke he hit, so that was
great
good.
Talking point in the family.
I digress, but there we are. So, Tim, tip us then in the two that you just talked about.
Well, I think the Quinella looks relatively simple in the hurdles. Prestia Josa, which is Kevin Myers' runner, won on the first day, won the Sydenham, number 6, and Zenacoin, who's probably the class horse of the field. And now I'm in a little bit of a quandary with the Duke of Gloucester Cup, because Kevin Myers seems to have a bit of a, not a mortgage on the race, but he's certainly got a lot of interest in it, and he's got his daughter riding, I think a niece riding, and one of his great mates, Scotty McNabb, riding. So I think I might go for number 3, Tally Ho Twinkle, which is trained by Joe Rathbone, a close colleague of Kevin Myers.
Did that ever run Saturday?
No, it didn't. No, it was the last start winner at Aupuni, fresh to the meeting, and Scotty McNabb aboard.
Because there was a bit of talk around about it, in the paper the other day.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, with Joe Rathbone, because she's now...
Oh, that's the other one. That's Snowdrop Twinkle Toes. She's got...
What's this one?
Oh, no, that's the other one that she ran in the Winter Cup.
Yeah,
that's another. Because they've all got twinkle something.
I know.
There's too much twinkling of the toes.
Yeah, that's good.
So is Joe Button back a bit from riding now, more into training?
I think so. She had got injured last year, and she just resumed about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So is still coming to grips, I suppose, with the return to riding. And a very talented horsewoman in all aspects of it.
Tommy, question for you, and I don't mean this in a nasty way at all, but where the hell would we be for jockeys if women had not been allowed to ride?
Well, exactly, and I think you'll find that New Zealand is probably the leading country in the world pertaining to female riders. And the silly thing about it is they're just as gutsy as men. They're as good a horse people as men, and you'll find that the difference between them and men is horses seem to run for them.
Yeah.
Look at the talent of the female riders that's come out of New Zealand over the last 25 to 30 years. Would have to be world leaders in that part of it, I'd say.
There's heaps of them now, isn't there? Which is amazing. Tim, obviously they see a career and a pathway now, which is good.
Oh, and,
They're not doing it for the fun of it.
you know, I can remember when I was a young fellow when the rules were changed, and it was sort of quite.
Linda Jones.
Yeah, well, it was quite a landmark decision to allow women to ride in races, and there was all sorts of arguments put up as to why they shouldn't, all of which have proved to be completely false.
Our ranks would be pretty thin if we didn't have them now, wouldn't they?
Oh, exactly, and quality ones. I mentioned young Sam Wynn, her name's Samantha, not Sam, and you know she's a very good apprentice jockey. Rosie Myers, very, very promising
right.
female jockey, let alone the trailblazers, the Marie Lindens, the Lisa Crops, and you mentioned Linda Jones. You know, that sort of quality. So New Zealand's produced Lisa Allprest. Over at Lisa of recent times. You know, just a terrific little jockey.
Another little thing I found interesting, Opie Bossum had an interest in a horse that won on Saturday. Yep. Can he ride that?
He can only ride it if he rides that. Sorry, he can only ride in the race if he rides his own horse.
Is that a departure? It just seems a little bit... Because can they bet?
They can, but only on the horse that they're riding. They're just changing the rules at the moment now. They did have a period where there was no betting at all. Yeah. Ownership by jockeys is something which came in probably about a decade ago, right. And provided they ride they declared to ride their own horse, that's okay. But yeah, Opie part-owned Carla Bruno, which won the E-Star Online Winter Cup on Saturday.
At $19, yeah. Who got onto that? I didn't. Did you ever ride one that you owned?
No, never been foolish enough to own one.
He relies on me to own them and put them on.
Right. So it's quite a departure, and it's quite interesting. You know, the integrity unit. I just wondered they're obviously happy with it. Yeah.
Hayden Tinsley had a share in a horse that ran Saturday, and one of the young Mackay girls rode it for Michael Pittman, and Hayden didn't have a ride in the race. So
yeah, there we go. We'll be back for the last time as we move into Saturday, which is the big day. And whatever you're doing Saturday, cancel it and get out to Riccarton Park. You'll see something pretty jolly special. Welcome back. Grab a pen and paper because the gurus are going to give some tips out here for Saturday, which is a big day. Done very well with Tim Mills so far, talking about Super 15 rugby and not mention the Hurricanes at all. Did they play this season at all, Tim, your beloved Hurricanes?
Yeah, they did, and they did their normal practice. I've been dubbed two teams Tim by many people around the place, and I have to admit it, supporting the Hurricanes or Wellington, I'm always going to not make the final. I'm always going to be able to then swap allegiance to Canterbury when it matters. And I was as devastated as anyone on Saturday night. I would love to know why you kicked the ball away with 3 minutes to go.
Correct. Yes, I remember
being a 7-year-old and being taught you hang on to the ball to win a game.
Correct.
But,
That's pretty key. Okay. Tommy, just before we get on to just having a look through, just very briefly, mindset-wise, to take on those fences at Riccarton, you know, do you just take yourself away and just focus on that for a while? I mean, do you clear the clutter? I mean, it's pretty blimmin' intimidating, isn't it?
Well, look, once you've been doing it for a while, it becomes second nature, but it depends whether you've got your eyes open or eyes shut. So
which works better for you?
Well, it works better when they're closed, you just can't see the ground coming. But no, look, after you've been doing it for a while, it just becomes second nature. You've got to have the trust in the horse and your riding. Some jump better than others, but once again, that's a partnership between the horse and the rider. If you've got a good partnership with your horse, then it's no problem. They
tend to be an older horse as well, don't they?
They do indeed, yeah. You don't get too many horses sort of under the age of 4 or 5 jumping. You know, by the time you people don't realise.
Is that the schooling side of it?
Well, people don't realise it's quite an involved process to get a horse to race in a jumping race. It's just not a 6-month thing. You know, it probably takes 12 months or 18 months to educate them properly to the point where they get what we call a ticket. They must be qualified to run in jumping races. So the majority of them are 4 or 5 before they start.
And yet the PC Brigade across the Tasman, you know, are very, very anti at this stage, aren't they? Kicking up Bobsy Die about it. But horses love to jump, don't they?
Oh, I firmly believe so. I mean, it's like anything. Tommy mentioned before that the horses are a flight animal, and they have eons of years. The instinct is from a predator is to run and therefore to jump.
Correct.
Because they didn't have perfect paddocks to run away from a marauding lion. They learnt to jump. And you noticed, and Tommy knows it better than me, I mean, I only watch them, but you'll see a horse part company with a rider and happily compete round jumping with the rest of the herd.
Just wants to keep going.
Terminology.
Yeah. A bit like Richie McCaw, just wants to keep going. Never mind, I digress. Let's go to Saturday, boys, and put your thinking caps on and give us a bit of a hand here.
Well, I suppose to start with, the main race is the Racecourse Hotel Grand National Steeplechase. Again, I think it's probably going to be a bit of a smallish field this year.
100 and something years, haven't
140th running.
140th race. Well, it's steeped in history, isn't it?
I think I might stick with the first day winner, Eric the Viking. young Aaron Bidlake. He's a younger guy who started training in the lower half of the North Island and really trying to make a fist of it. He's come to Riccarton 4 years in a row ever since he's basically had a licence. He got his first winner in the NZI Coral on Saturday here at Riccarton Park. He's a passionate young bloke and might be picking a little bit with the heart because I'd like to see him get another result. But
Is there a local?
not a Christchurch, no, not a Canterbury or Riccarton trained runner at this year.
No, that's a little disappointing. Where are you going to go, Tommy?
Yeah, I'm with Tim on this. I know Aaron well through my association with the Jumpers, and he's a good young fella. And I know he's dying to win a good jumping race. He really loves training the Jumpers, and you know a lot of good trainers started off with a jumper. It's a bit of a measure of you if you can train a jumper because they're a little bit tricky. But I thought he was impressive enough the first day. You know, he's not going to carry a whole lot of weight in the Grand National, only being a one-win steeplechaser. So no, I'm with him as well.
Right, they back up okay. A week's enough, is it?
Well, that's the question, you know. But he was a pretty handy horse on the flat. This, and I see looking back through his form, he's backed up on a number of occasions on the flat. So
Right. Okay. So he's got some ability, is what we're saying,
Correct.
aren't we? Really. It is a prestigious race, isn't it, Tim?
Oh, without doubt. And I think it's one of those it's one of those iconic races that there's always a great story comes out of it somewhere in it. It's not just
You ain't
another
going to change it, are you?
No, sorry, no. But I think we'll be
To hell with what
crawling
the-
over
yeah.
broken glass. We'll drag backwards through broken glass to get. There's no. You wouldn't want to. It's just such a spectacular event.
It is.
And
Yep.
the passion when you see these people that are preparing the horses for the Jumpers and the effort they put into it. You see the courage of the riders. They've got 22 fences. They've got 5,600 metres. It's not for the faint-hearted. As much as Tommy will laugh about it and probably, you know, I bet I can tell the courage is flowing in his veins when he's going out there and
I'll bet you.
amongst his colleagues when he was riding. But it's just something special about
22
it.
fences.
22 fences.
It's amazing, isn't it? Really.
well, it's grand final week for the jumping community.
Yeah.
Okay, you have your Pakuranga hunts and you have your Great Northerns later on in the season. We've had the Waikato steeplechase early in the season, but for years and years, you know, all roads led to Riccarton.
Right.
And to have the 3-day carnival, a good cross-section of races for all sections of the jumping community, from maidens through to 0 to 1s, restricted opens, then your open races. It's grand final week for the jumpers.
Why is Kelly Myers stable so strong?
Kevin Myers.
Kevin Myers, sorry, yeah. Was it Kelly? Yeah.
I don't know whether that's his niece, of course, who's a very good jockey, speaking of female jockeys. He's just a marvellous horseman. I can't sum him up
He
any
must
other way
love
than
jumps,
that.
though, does he? You're like,
Well, he was a very good amateur rider himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, going back to the hunt thing, he does, yeah.
They were brought up through hunting, and himself and more than one of his other brothers all rode winners as amateur steeplechase riders. So, you know,
why would you want to train him?
Yeah.
One more. Let's go to the next race. What do you want to talk about next?
Well, I think the day's other features, the 1,800 metres of the Christchurch Casino Winter Classic. Bit early now to predict a winner for that. I think I might just wait till I have a good look at the fields because they will close on Wednesday.
You'll have to listen to 3ZB at 10 to 8 on a Saturday morning, won't you, to be able
You
to
will.
get the tip. There we are. I'll get the head in for you.
So it's a premier race day, so we would be hoping that with stakes of anywhere from 25,000, 30,000, 40,000 for the open races, there should be some good quality fields. Even if I said they were a little bit small on the first day, the form was there and the quality was there.
Right.
And
Increase in numbers for the last day?
I'd hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly because the weather's come right and perhaps whereas a lot of people were expecting a bottomless track given how wet we'd been, the first day showed that wasn't the case. It was just good winter going, is what probably I'd describe it as.
The times were set and everyone, great. Appreciate you coming in, boys. There's your opportunity on Saturday. First race, sorry again, Tim, is
It'll be about 11:15 on
about
Saturday.
11:15. So you can go out and have a great day. I think your last one's probably about 4:30.
Thereabouts,
Yeah.
yep,
So,
yep.
it's a nice package and, it's a rugby-free weekend as far as the All Blacks go. They don't play till the following week. So, get out to Riccarton Park. It's a wonderful spectacle. If you've not seen jumps racings before, I tell you, it's a highlight for me. I absolutely love it. Unfortunately, I've got to work on Saturday, but I'll be there on Wednesday. Until next week, we thank the guys for coming in and we wish you have a happy week.